Hello and welcome to After Hours, a TV and film podcast brought to you by OTGBasketball.com. We are moving through Remembering the Office. We're going season by season, episode by episode, recapping one of the most beloved TV shows of all time. We are currently on season 3, episode 2, The Convention. And with me, as always, on all of these episodes, Jack Manuel. Jack, how's it going, man?
Kory, I put on my fun jeans for this episode.
Ooh, you're fun, Gene. I'm glad my prodigal son has also arrived. You. This is just all right off the rip. This is a fantastic episode of Michael Scott getting every single phrase wrong. We'll probably have to highlight that throughout this recap, but like you said, it's one of your favorite episodes to rewatch, even though this isn't probably one of the top 15 even best episodes. But there are some really good moments, and actually. When it comes to the office romance stuff that we often talk about, it's got some good office romance stuff as well entangled in the middle of this episode.
Yeah, it's a jam-packed one, and probably for me one of the more underrated episodes. I think it got like an 8.2 on IMDb. For my rating, spoiler alert, I did give it a little bit higher than that.
I'm a little bit lower than the 8.2, so it's about time we've differed because I've been going too high and you've been going too low. It feels like, so at least we're flipping for one of these.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the first funny moments, and you alluded to it, it was Ryan, because I didn't think personally the Pam and Michael interaction. It is somewhat comical because we know Michael to be very impulsive. So him talking about wanting to adopt a kid because he saw Angelina Jolie do it, and then Pam's like, you realize you're gonna be on a waiting list, and it's gonna be 8 months, and he's like, ooh, 8 months. I don't know if I want a kid in 8 months, and it's just like, well. This is why you shouldn't have a kid.
Plus, a kid takes 9 months to have as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's a somewhat funny moment, but it's more of a cringe moment, if anything. But then as you alluded to start the show off, Ryan going through what Michael was bringing to the convention is quite comical. 3 pairs of pants, 3 pairs of socks, 3 packs of condoms, a lot of condoms. Michael plans to get really busy. And as you alluded to, the fun jeans.
One thing about the condoms, if his girlfriend isn't going,
right?
Carol's not going. Is he in his head going to be hooking up with Jen as well? He does allude to that he's got 2 girlfriends.
Yeah.
He's trying to be all cool and studly. My guy, why are you packing so many damn condoms? I get 3 pairs of pants, 3 pairs of socks. Personally, I always pack a few extra pairs of socks, a few extra pairs of underwear, pants and shirts. I'm normally good with, and I did want to ask you as well. I alluded to the fact that I'm wearing my fun jeans. I'm actually not. I'm wearing a very comfortable pair of tracksuit pants. Do you have a nice sort of pair of chinos or jeans that you just love? It's I'm on my vibe now. I'm on my jam. I'm going out. It's going to be a good time wearing my fun jeans.
Okay, so this was not intentional, but it kind of coincides with a tweet I had earlier today where I said black jeans are greater than blue jeans. I have a pair of black jeans. And I don't know, I like the way they fit, and I don't know, I like them. So those would be if I'm going out, I would prefer to have those black jeans on. I just like the way I look and feel in them. And also, it's funny, I got drunk one night, years back, and I fell, and I kind of ripped the knee up on the jeans. So it kind of looks like it's got a designer rip in it, but it's really just me being a dumbass. So I also like it for that purpose, it's not just a clean cut pair of jeans.
You had a lot of fun in those jeans.
100%. There you go. Those they're the definition of my fun jeans now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely do have a pair.
Nice. I respect it.
So, and like you said though, I think in terms of the condoms, I think he's bringing it more so in case something does happen with Jan, and he probably just brought an excessive amount, so it looks like he's gonna get more action than he's obviously gonna get. Because I think even when he's telling Jan, in that one conversation, no funny business, I want to, address the elephant in the room. I almost feel like he's hoping she's gonna be damn, I really wanted to, be with you this weekend. Obviously, which wasn't the case.
Also, I just curiously, while you were sort of speaking there, I just looked up for the fact of how many in general condoms are in a packet. Normally, it's about you can get 5, 10, or the jumbo packets of 30. So at the very minimum, let's say there's 5. So there's 15 condoms. He's gone for 3 days. So in his head, he wants to have sex 15 times in the space of 3 days. So I'm doing the math here, Kory, because I'm headed back to school tomorrow. I need to get my brain switched on.
Yeah.
Mathematically wise. There's 72 hours in 3 days. 15 condoms. So he's gonna be having sex every 4.5 to 5 hours. Michael's going to have no time to be actually making sales and connecting with different representatives at this convention. He's getting busy.
Well, I think so let's say 12 of them would get used. Because I think, like, also he might be just taking into account of, like, user error. Right? Like maybe he doesn't know how to put them on, or he ruins it or something. But you're right. It's an excessive amount of condoms for a 72-hour period. When you don't even have your girlfriend or significant other with you. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting decision for Michael. And then of course, I think like the next funny scene, this is going towards, we just touch on the office romance as we get to it, but the office romance between Dwight and Angela, the conversation of her being mad that he's going away. And we find out that his nickname for her is Monkey. Monkey. Stop monkeying me. But I thought that was an interesting interaction because you can tell like Angela definitely would be that kind of like uptight person to like not want her man to be away for too long type of thing.
First time we hear the iteration of monkey for their romance, so that obviously becomes a thing going forward for them. And it sort of leads to another moment, Kory, where like, Michael finds out that Pam's gone on a date with Kelly's friend, and he's like, let them breathe. And he's like, oh, do you want me to relay a message to Jim? And then Pam's like, and then Michael's like, okay, you got that? Got it. That, I really love it when Dwight, because like, guaranteed, there's probably like 2 lines there that are written on the script, and you can tell that Rainn Wilson and Steve Carell are just like riffing off each other and just trying to make each other laugh and just have some fun with it. They're a dynamic duo in so many different ways.
Well, and I think too, right? Like that same scene they make like the terrible joke of because obviously, to backtrack slightly, Pam's going on a date. Her first date since Roy and her called off the wedding. And she said 9 years. And their joke is you should wear your wedding dress. And it's just like, yeah. And Dwight's like, wear your veil. It's just like, oh yeah, guys, that's exactly what you should do on a date. Again, some misplaced humor.
Definitely some misplaced humor. They feed off each other's stupidity.
Wait, and also it's like we might just touch the office romance stuff first, but like, so Michael also tells Pam to unbutton the top button. Yeah. And Pam actually does unbutton the top button on the date. She does,
but then obviously we do get to we'll get to their date with the double date with Kelly and Ryan. She does end up sort of buttoning back up.
He's looking at her chest and not her eyes in one of the conversations.
He's creepy, man. I'm not a fan of his. We'll get to him in a little bit. Like, there's another sort of little bit, and this is probably maybe a heat check moment for you too as well with your guy Creed. There's my girl. I noticed you handing out some shekels. How would one get on that train? That was per diem for Philadelphia. That town smells like cheesesteaks. That town is full of history. Andrew's the opposite bitch. You get used to her. Creed.
Not to mention he starts eating Angela's lunch as well in that scene. Yeah, it's a heat check moment from Creed, 100%. And you can also tell like Angela, I don't know, really defensive of Philadelphia because Dwight's going there, I guess, right?
Yeah. And she ends up going there as well.
Yes, and she ends up going there as well, which we'll find out in a later scene, which is also comical. Then we also get the first interaction of Michael with Josh and Jim since Jim left, obviously calling him a traitor. Michael's quote, "I was shocked when he told me he was transferring to Stanford. It's like the fireman. You don't leave your brothers behind, even if you find out that there is a better fire in Connecticut." As you said, a terrible episode in terms of Michael in quotes. He butchers them all. And actually, I skipped the one where he goes, yeah, the product. The Prado, my son returns.
My son returns. Obviously, he nearly gets it. just switch the D and the G around. It's like you with European basketball players. To go behind the scenes, Kory, Nick, and I were doing some free agency stuff for OTG basketball, and Kory was pronouncing Goran Dragic in a not so eloquent way. It just makes me feel nice to sort of. You were saying like Dragic and in different. I don't think anyone can actually. I don't actually know if there is a different way to pronounce it, or what the specific way is. But in saying that, there's a line as well. I don't know if it's before or after, where Michael's like, "Poor little guy. He's been stuck working under Josh. The poor man's Michael Scott, as he is known around my condo." Like, it's clearly just him that says that.
That's clearly what you think, Michael.
Oh, it's a good one.
At the same time, obviously Dwight and Jim, they meet up for the first time. We know their relationship, and Jim says he sold about 40,000. Which, do you think he's actually sold 40,000? Because he actually sounds really confident, and Dwight's kind of blown away by it. Is that a real figure, you think? Yeah, it is, right?
I would assume so, because you take into the account of like he's chosen to go to Scranton. He's clearly made a focus for his career to grow. He's now sort of the version of Dwight in Scranton, and he's like sort of the number 2 to Josh. And like Dwight has changed the focus from like pranking, being goofy, flirting with the receptionist, to now I gotta get my shit done, because obviously this is pre-Karen as well. So clearly at this point, Jim's just putting in work.
No, 100%. Okay, so I'll agree. I think that's what it was as well. I just wasn't sure if he was trying to just like get a rise out of Dwight. Then of course, I think the next funny moment is a little bit of offense romance, but we find out for the first time Toby has real interest in Pam after Kevin says that Pam's on the market again and starts dating. And of course, Kevin goes, "If I weren't engaged, I would so hit that," as if he would have the option.
Oh, Kev. Aim high, my guy. Aim high. Maybe a snowflake emoji into the DMs of Pam help. It might help you, bro.
Yeah, maybe. Another offense romance, but funny moment as well, I think, is Michael's first interaction with Jan. About setting up ground rules, the 800-pound gorilla, and Jan's like, "Look at him, step away from me, Michael." And then Michael going, "Thank you for being so brave with all of this. Thank you."
He's such a dick. But I think it harks back to, I can't remember if it was the previous episode where the quote that I gave from Steve Carell about saying, what he is as a person and how he embodies a character, how he feels about the character is just like, his heart is in the right place. He just has absolutely no idea. Like, he's just clueless beyond repair. And then another line / back and forth with, it's technically Michael's line, but Dwight jumps in to just make it fun. "Well, that's how we do it in Scranton, or did you forget? There ain't no party like a Scranton party, because a Scranton party don't stop." It's like, that's another one. I don't think that's in the script for Dwight to start beatboxing.
Yeah, probably isn't, no. And it also leads to, again, another fantastic Michael quote following that, where obviously Josh and Jim are sharing an inside joke about a bartender in Stanford, and Michael goes, "Wish I was. I love inside jokes. I'd love to be a part of one someday." All right.
I mean, inside jokes are great. Like, with me, you, and Nick, we got the inside joke of like, Kory being like, mispronouncing the names. We could do we send a heap of different stuff on the group DMs on Twitter and stuff. Mike, Steve Carell, you want to jump in the DMs, mate? Hit us up at the JMN DBT, 8K Wall Hoops. We'll get you some inside jokes, my guy.
100%. And I think it also segues into him swag. Swag. And obviously, back in when this show was on air, like, I remember how popular swag was, right? Like, that was, like, if you were in, whatever age bracket of, like, being a teenager, it was all about swag. Like, "Oh, dude, that's fucking swag." Or, like, "Dude, you got a lot of swag today." And, of course, Michael's swag, I don't think is the proper definition either, because it's stuff we all get. And he's like, "I condo."
I actually I literally just typed in, "What does swag stand for?" Wikipedia, stuff we all get. Maybe that is the original meaning of it, and then it sort of became a sort of culture, hip-hop sort of thing. I don't know, or maybe it had sort of changed in a way, like the like words change in meaning and connotation.
You might be right, though. It probably did mean stuff we all get, and then our generation kind of took it and was like, "Nah, man, swag is cool."
Then there's another one. Wikipedia said scientific wild ass guess. Like, I feel like it's just people typing. Okay, Urban Dictionary has different meanings for it as well. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like the F word. It just has so many different meanings that you just. And I mean, for me, when I hear it, it's like you, it's the hip hop sort of thing, and I immediately think of Tyler the Creator, like the old school Tyler and Odd Future. But after seeing Michael's stuff we all get, I'm like, it's actually kind of clever too, if he actually is remembering something correctly. Sort of the opposite of what he does this entire episode.
Yeah. So he's batting 1 for 3 so far, or 1 for 4 so far in quotes.
Better than Danny Green.
100% better than Danny Green. This is an FU Danny Green podcast until further notice. Hit your wide open shots when you get paid $15 million. And Markeith Morris, don't panic. God damn it.
Oh, wow.
So on to the next sport part of this episode. Jerome Bettis has a guest appearance, and that's probably not aged well because I don't feel like anyone knows who Jerome Bettis is anymore. But Jerome Bettis was the boss, a running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, won a Super Bowl with them, and it makes sense that he's in this episode since obviously this all takes place in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I had absolutely no idea who he was, but I guess I can sort of bring in.
He's a Hall of Fame running back. It's like he's.
The immediate assumption when I first saw this episode, I'm like, he must be a football player. He looked like it. But I guess it sort of relates to. They're now at the convention, and there's the different sort of companies there. This is some trivia. Funnily enough, haven't brought many. There isn't a heap of trivia for this episode, but I do have a little bit. Hundreds of companies were invited to create a booth at this fake convention. The companies provided their own materials, their own stuff, with the understanding that the show would try, but couldn't guarantee they would appear on screen. The response was overwhelming. In the end, 140 of the 176 extras at the convention were company staff. Companies represented included Hammermill and Swingline.
That's really good. That's really good trivia, though, knowing that all those companies, that was real, right? Like, that wasn't just. I mean, it makes sense. That's free marketing.
I mean, we should have got if that episode were happening today.
OTG.
Guarantee OTG basketball would be there with bells on. We'd be wearing Remembering the Office T-shirts. We'd have computers playing all of our episodes. If they do a reunion episode and it happens to be in a convention center, we're there.
We'll be making some phone calls.
Yep.
It also goes to a fake phone call, perfect segue, that Michael Scott pretends he gets from Jan after Josh receives an email from Jan. And Dwight, of course, you don't get email on your phone. And then he fake answers a phone call. Everyone walks away. It's comical. Like, I have a buddy who doesn't do it like Michael trying to lie. But when he's like, say we're all talking and he has the conversation, he'll be like, "What, Mom? All right, Mom. Yeah, I gotta go. Okay, I'm coming." And he'll fake pick up his phone in a joking manner. And this scene always makes me think of that.
It's good. I mean, I can't. If you can't do it, it's almost like when you see TMZ photos and paparazzi talking to celebrities and they just have their phone, or an athlete who gets accosted by the media or whatever. I respect it. You got to respect the hustle of those little actions, those little behaviors.
Yeah, no, 100%. What's another funny moment you have down?
Maybe, it probably is the line of the episode for me. You'll probably know what I'm about to say. Well, Michael, I underestimated you. Yeah, well, maybe next time you will estimate me. Perfect. What I think it goes underappreciated how freaking good this line is.
It's fantastic too, just because Michael gets shitted on by Jan, the scene before when he's we're having a party in 308, and she's we're all doing meetings, and Michael comes down. You can tell Michael's on edge and already in a bad mood because of how everything's gone on with Jim so far. And when he sits down and he's just we got Hammermill, and then even Josh is like, "You didn't get Hammermill. Hammermill only works with Staples," and he's he'll be calling you tomorrow. And it's just oh shit, this is the salesman that, we all know Michael Scott to be. And then, like you said, James, I underestimated you. Well, maybe next time you'll estimate me. It's just so good. 1 for 5 now on quotes for Michael Scott.
Yeah, as a comparison point, I mean, we're part of the OTG network, so we're going to make some basketball references. Do you think this episode from Michael and that sort of like massive moment, if you were to compare it to someone currently in the NBA Finals, do you reckon it's someone like I don't know, like a Rajon Rondo or Kuzma, or do you think it's like just Jimmy Butler? Like he's always going to be like it's Jimmy Butler from three. When it matters, he's going to hit that shot.
Well, I'm going to say this episode is a very Jimmy Butler-like performance by Michael because he's taken a lot of shit, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like how the Heat have taken a lot of shit of like, for example, we all thought the Lakers were going to win in 5. And Jimmy Butler's like, we're going to win. Like, what? You don't think I can do this? And that's kind of what this sale was. The Hammer Mill sale is Jimmy Butler game 5. Like, you think this is over? Like, no. Let me remind you who I am. I might not be a top 10 superstar, but I can make things happen. I can make plays. And this is what that was tonight.
Oh, it's, both of them are goddamn icons in their respective fields.
100%. The next funny moment I had was in a little bit of the office romance, but it's Phyllis and Stanley kind of giving Pam dating advice. And Phyllis is like, you should order the most expensive thing on the menu so he knows you're worth it. And then Stanley's like, yeah, you're going to have to put out. And Pam makes a face like, ooh, I don't want to. It feels like, oh, yeah, you'll have to put out. It's just like, oh, damn. Like, Phyllis wants you to get late tonight.
I feel like Phyllis, as a sexually positive woman and character on the show, is a great representation of that. She's got like some, not to sound like the biggest white boy maybe in the world, but she's got some big ass WAP energy. She's got some Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion energy.
Really does. She really does. And then like another office romance I had written down was when Michael calls Pam. Or answers the phone from Pam, and you can tell Jim's like,
shit.
It's Pam, and like they all say hi, and he says like, this is Josh and Dwight and Jim. Pam says hi into the phone. You just tell like there's a lot of both Pam and Jim like thinking about each other, but not saying they're thinking about each other kind of moments in this episode. At least, especially from Jim's side, because obviously Jim's around, the Scranton branch for the first time since he left.
I think that we've spoken about it a little bit on certain episodes, but the camera work is perfect because they know we're like, this is the Jim moment. We need to capture Jim's reaction here. And it just goes bang, right in on John Krasinski's face. And he gives the perfect sort of like, oh shit, man. Like I haven't spoken to this girl in ages and I'm still in love with her, all these conflicting feelings. And you sort of see him like, the soul and color leave from his body, and then he like sort of tries to give out like a casual and cool hi Pam, which is easier to do on the phone or on a text, but if this were 10 years later and it was FaceTime, you can't hide that face, Jimmy boy.
No, you can't, and especially the Jim Halpert face. We know how they go. There's no hiding those faces. And then I think the next funny part, it's also part of the office romance, is in fact when Jim walks in on Angela naked. Doesn't realize it's Angela because he doesn't go far enough into the room. But then, of course, he mistakes it for thinking Dwight got a hooker, which I think is even more outlandish than Dwight having a girlfriend.
This, I guess, kind of leads to a pretty sort of shocking trivia moment to me, Kory, and I'm intrigued to hear what you think. This episode originally had a scene with Angela and Dwight in the office kitchen. Producer Greg Daniels stated, they had a couple of lines, there was a pause, and then Angela said, I'm late, turns around and leaves. This would imply that she may be pregnant. The scene was cut because Daniels ultimately concluded it was a big move, but we had it in the show that had a lot of other big moves. You don't introduce a C-plot line of an illicit office romance and then all of a sudden have one of the characters get knocked up. That, to me, was just like, whoa, good decision to leave that shit out. Like, yeah.
It changes the show dramatically. Even though, it could have been a false positive, or she could have gotten it a couple weeks later. But like if she actually gets pregnant, who knows what the storyline looks like when you introduce a character like Andy. And things start to go off the rails for Dwight and Angela. So I think, good call to not have that in the script.
I agree. An office romance moment for Ryan and Kelly at the double date. Ryan, I don't want ketchup. You love ketchup. He loves ketchup. I found it very funny. You're cringing, but I actually have for this moment alone, I had Kelly into my hate check because I loved it.
It's a funny moment. What I don't like about it is like I'm not that I'm getting it's not really even a PDA. I don't like the feeding your significant other food, like especially like French fries, like at a restaurant on a double date. Like it's just disgusting to me. Like I don't know. I just really and like also Ryan's like eating them, they're like hanging out of his mouth. It's just like this is not good. Yeah, and then of course like Alan's just like a really like emotionless kind of character. It's like I don't know. If I was Pam, I would be miserable. That was and obviously when Ryan leaves, Ryan looks miserable. Like I feel like I was Ryan in that situation because that just looked dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, who would you rather have as your partner or date? Would you rather have Kelly, or would you rather have the cartoonist? Looking at your chest.
Ryan.
Okay.
Right? Like because the other guy's creepy. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, my art's all from my dreams and from life. It's just like, okay, so everything you do, like I don't know. Then like you said, like I don't know, he's just monotone. Like he could be a serial killer. Like he could have been the Scranton Strangler for all I know.
Yeah. I'm definitely not a fan. And like my guy, like keep your eyes up for God's sake. Like Jenna Fisher is a woman, and you're on a date with her. Like seriously, you're supposed to be having conversation, and it's real creepy, like you said. Whereas for me, Kelly can be over the top, massively OTT, but at least she loves you. Like she's just over the top with love, and you'd rather have that sort of like fun annoyingness than sort of just that like weird creepiness.
Yeah. And clearly after the date ends, Pam makes it pretty clear there will not be a second one. Because she said when she finds someone, she'll know. And again, we all think, well, Jim Halpert. And obviously we watched the show about 1,000 times, so we know, it is Jim Halpert, which leads into a really good Jim and Michael scene. Once again, they keep having these heart-to-hearts, and obviously you can tell Michael's upset because Michael believes that Jim left, Scranton because of him. And we end up finding out that, Jim confides in Michael again and says, no, Michael, you were a great boss. I left because of Pam. And I thought that was a really good scene. Obviously, Michael with the funny line of saying, you should talk to Roy. He knows exactly what you're feeling right now. It's just like, okay, Michael.
It's just I guess another reflection of his cluelessness, but he's just big heart. Like he loves Jim. Like, and obviously he thinks like they're best friends. Jim clearly via the look when he gets introduced to is just like a bit like, nah. But then obviously we fast forward 4 seasons ahead and they're pretty damn close to best friends. Yeah. I will say that I think as the show goes on, this is a bit of an off point. I think Pam / Jenna Fisher is closer to Michael than John Krasinski is / Jim is to Michael.
I would agree because I think the turning point, at least in making Pam's relationship so much better with Michael, is when they make their own paper company. That's really the turning point of them becoming a lot closer because she trusts Michael to be more, to become, the next stage of her career. But yeah, I would agree. Like near the end, because like even like when Michael eventually leaves. Spoiler alert. Pam's goodbye with Michael, like it felt more important than Jim's, even though Jim's was more emotional. If that makes sense.
I think I see more on social media, be it like Twitter pages or Facebook groups, office Facebook groups, the Jim Michael sort of screenshot with the screen quotes than like and I mean, I guess it's harder to replicate on like a post, the sort of Jenna Fisher hug. It's just like you have to post it as a video. It doesn't go as well on social media. But for me, and then like, you probably know this, like, you read the articles and behind the scenes of like, it was Steve Carell saying like how much he cared about me and how much I meant to him and how much, we've grown together as people. And I'm just like, oh God, my heart can't handle this shit.
Fantastic.
And yeah, I think, just comparing the two, you made a good point. From season 2, episode 11, Booze Cruise, it's basically Jim and Michael. And the fact that Jim does confide in Michael shows that there is an openness and innocence to him that makes you kind of want to, even maybe not kind of want, maybe subconsciously want to, because it's just like, man, I just got to do it with someone. And Michael's just the guy who he loves everyone, and subconsciously Michael and Jim knows that, and everyone knows that. He might be a dick, he might be goofy, he might be misguided in how he expresses it, but he loves everyone, and so does Dwight for that matter too. But just focusing on Michael, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%. Their relationship, it's I mean, and again, like even though Jim wouldn't say they're best friends, and Michael does. If you're looking at Jim's like office friends, he is his office best friend in a lot of ways. And again, I think that's that's a real thing because there was definitely through my life, like Nick, the founder of OTG. Like I met Nick from work. Like we were associates at Modell Sporting Goods. Like that's where I met Nick, and we started off as just work friends, and then we became out of work friends. But work friends are like a real thing because you're with them all the time. You're with them for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. You become friends with the people you work with. That's not like an uncommon thing.
No doubt. And I love Michael's line. Some people need dozens of friends to say, hey, look at me, I'm popular. But not me, I'm very picky. I need maybe 3, maybe 2. When you meet that someone special, you'll just know. Because a real relationship, it can't be forced. It should come effortlessly. How do you miss the T there, my guy?
I really don't know how he still managed to butcher this one. But I really relate to this quote.
I do as well.
It's not like a bad quote because like obviously like my friend group is I can count them on 2 hands. So and obviously the older you get, your circle gets smaller. That's just kind of like how it goes. So Michael like is on point, but like you said, he couldn't help himself. 1 for 7 on quotes this episode. Not great.
I mean, the nature of the quotes
all on point though.
Yeah, you just got to take the shots. It's like the Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky line. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's an iconic Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky line. And a great screen grab as well from the Michael Scott Paper Company episodes. And then obviously the funny moment ending with Dwight and Michael turning off the lights and getting the blue lights where that shows the different sort of stains everywhere. Blood, urine, or semen. Oh, God, I hope it's urine.
Okay, so question for you. What would you prefer it to be? Blood, urine, or semen?
I think if I'm rank, semen's last.
Semen's definitely last. I think I'd rather have... like, what's worse? Someone might have gotten murdered on the sheets or someone peed on the sheets now.
I think urine as well. I think I'm with Michael here. I think he hits one of the shots. It's like, it's an easy layup. It's not like the hardest shot to hit. Maybe, a little bit of a floater in the lane. I think I'll go urine, blood, semen.
This scene also reminds me of why I hate hotels.
Yeah.
It's a reminder of you don't know what the hell goes on in these rooms. And then you see something like that, you're like, oh, yeah, like there's been a lot of people in here and they're probably really fucking nasty and dirty.
Yep. Basically.
I would agree that I think I would do urine, blood, semen as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Because like, if it's blood? Then I'm thinking someone died, and that makes it even worse because that means there's blood in a dead body on this bed. So yeah, probably urine's still better. And urine, as a famous line in Dodgeball, it's sterile and you can drink it if you want to.
Exactly. Like that's what I was thinking. I'm like, at its best, urine is like it's just like water leaving the body. It's you're dehydrated or you need to. Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world compared to those 2 other liquids, so to speak. Yeah.
And then one other office romance I had, which we didn't touch on, is Toby's failed attempt to try and ask out Pam. Well, 2 of them. First, he walks by after she has a conversation with Kelly, and she's eating, and he like waves, but she doesn't notice him, and he like walks to the bathroom awkwardly. And then when he's trying to ask her out, he just can't do it. Toby really trying, but I kind of feel for Toby because he's just really shy, and he's obviously, he's not the best looking man, quite frankly.
Later in the season when we get to Phyllis's wedding, but as we mentioned, Phyllis is now engaged to Bob Vance Refrigeration. Toby rocks up with goddamn, like a stunner. Obviously, we'll recap and dissect that more in full view. But clearly, he's doing, and he meets her at the gym as well, Kory. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's trying. I'll respect Toby because honestly, Toby doesn't seem to have much of a dating life because as all we know is he was recently divorced at some point in time. So obviously he's back on the market too. Now in terms of MVP, I think it's clearly Michael Scott, right?
It's Michael Scott, and I've got 3 things
Trivia?
to quickly give some trivia.
Hit it.
Greg Daniels wanted to get Mackenzie Cook, Martin Freeman, and Lucy Davis from the original British office to appear in this episode as their own respective characters, but unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, wasn't able to do so. That would have been really cool, having a bit of a crossover thing there. In the break room, when Meredith is complaining about Philadelphia smells like cheesesteaks, Kate Flannery, the actress who plays Meredith, actually was born in Philadelphia and grew up in the area. And finally, Scranton does not offer a passenger rail service to Philadelphia, so Michael and Dwight should have actually driven to Philadelphia instead. Amtrak does offer a bus service between Scranton and Philadelphia, so that's just a little nitpicky thing that I saw in one of my trivia sort of research and websites. And that is a kind of funny moment as well that we didn't touch on when Michael steals the pillow from Dwight. It's just like,
oh yeah,
like, come on. It's a dick move, man. Like, give Dwight his neck pillow back.
Yeah, it's not yours, man. It's not yours. Give it back.
But he's got the headphones on. And it's just like, I mean, fair play. Well done.
Also, that reminds me of a somewhat funny moment of Dwight saying, why do they call him the bus? And Michael's like, because he doesn't like to fly. And his nickname was the bus because he was a running back and just ran people over. Just came to my mind. I wanted to touch on that. Is that all the trivia, though?
That is all the trivia, sir.
So I did want to point out one deleted scene that I kind of wish was, I think it would have been funny if it was in, but it's Jan basically trying to bang Josh. I think that's a comical deleted scene because especially there's also another deleted scene in which Josh is saying that he knows about Jan and Michael's history and it's kind of gross, which would completely make sense of why when Jan tries to hit on him and get him to go up to her room and he's like, no, I'm good. It would have been funny to see Jan strike out with Josh after being, told by Michael that they couldn't do anything.
I also respect Jan's WAP energy. I think her and Phyllis. I just love seeing
WAP energy. I love it.
I love it. I love the female characters on this show that are just like all about it. Like they're not afraid. And Meredith is as well. Just it's nice to see because I think in a lot of other shows and even around that time, it's just like girls can't be sexual. It's just like a guy sort of thing. But it's cool to see like strong sex positive characters in Jan, Meredith, Kelly, Phyllis. Yeah, Phyllis big time, as we sort of alluded to earlier in the episode. I just think they're all great characters, and everyone is sexual in some form or another if that is how you are inclined, and it's good to see it on both sides of the track.
For sure. So as we mentioned, MVP Michael Scott, heat check. I'm giving it. I'm giving it to my boy. I'm giving it to Creed. I think the scene is top notch. I wouldn't be mad if you gave it to Kelly, but I gotta give it to Creed because it's just the lack of awareness once again by Creed, which is so funny to me.
I debated this as well. So I think I've said this before. Like normally I go through the script first, and then I'm like, I'll pick out those moments, and then I watch the episode to either have new moments highlighted or to just see those scenes obviously on the screen and reenacted. And like Creed kills it. But that the nature of just like he loves French fries, he loves ketchup. I just can't get. I've got a soft spot for Kelly. I'm a big fan of Mindy Kelly, and congratulations to her on being pregnant or having her second child as well. So, so kudos to Mindy Kelly. She's awesome, as is everyone on this show. But yeah, I love Mindy Kelly.
She also has a funny scene and like more of a facial expression of when she asks Pam what she's gonna wear.
Yeah.
And Pam's like this, and Kelly's like, "Oh, you look nice." I'm not going to be a bitch, but you should really not wear that. So I think Kelly would definitely be runner-up for me, and I'm not at all mad or disappointed that you picked her. Because she definitely, this is a very, look at like the role players of this episode. It's Kelly's. I mean, Kelly has more lines than guys like Kevin, Stanley, and even Creed and Meredith, I don't think Meredith even has a line.
Meredith has the Philly cheese.
Oh, that's right.
Kelly's Duncan Robinson in this episode.
Yes, on fire, flamethrower from deep.
Yeah.
So now your episode rank. You're going somewhat high, I guess, huh?
I am. I'm pushing towards the 9. I'm going 8.75 just because rewatchability and just a lot of elements of the show that I love. You know, some good sort of collab moments from heat check moments and the little romance moments as well. And Michael just on one. And then the Dwight, I just love Dwight and Michael. Their banter back and forth, the dumb beatboxing, the singing, like it's those. It elevates it from being what is like an 8 episode, an 8 out of 10 to being like an 8.75 for me.
I think that's fair. I went with an 8. What you said 8.2 was the Rotten Tomato rank.
IMDb.
IMDb 8.2. I went with an 8. Like I said, I think it's a really good episode for Michael. There are some funny moments in it. But you kind of also like in my mind, I was like, I've been way too high on some of the last episodes. I need to just bring it down a little bit. So I went with an 8. It's still a very good episode. Like you said, it's got a lot of rewatchability because the quotes, Michael having so many top-notch quotes in this episode, it really just makes it one that you can enjoy anytime you watch it. And any final thoughts, Jack?
I'm literally just looking ahead to the episodes throughout this season, and boy, oh boy, there is basically. I would be very surprised if we give basically any of the episodes lower than an 8 because there are maybe some. This might be. You've said I think that season 2 was one of your top 3 seasons ever. Season 3 might be the best. I'm not putting anything definitively yet. We're still 2 episodes in, but man, there is some absolutely amazing episodes to come that we'll be recapping.
Yeah, it's a flamethrower season. I like you said, I'm just looking at some of the titles and like picturing what goes on. I don't know if any of these are, like you said, are under an 8. An 8 might be the lowest of an episode, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But that's again why this show was so good, is because season 2 is a really good launching point because season 1 is just so cringy at times, and then like season 3, 4, and 5, I feel like is where this show just freaking skyrockets. And it's gonna be really fun going through the meat and heart of this show. So Jack, final thoughts, and where can the people find you?
At the J-Man JBT on Twitter, doing lots of stuff for OTG on YouTube. Make sure you search OTG Basketball Off the Glass. Search it in, subscribe, get those notifications going. JBT is going to be recording today. We've got some fun video stuff. All the video content is doing really, really well for OTG Basketball. Full Access Hoops is back. Brooklyn Buzz, we're doing massive trade episodes. There's going to be another one later in the week. I'm going to be jumping on the outlet for some fun free agency stuff going forward. The off-season content, just because there's 1 or 2 games left in the NBA Finals, we might do 2 episodes a week of Remembering the Office. The content is not going to be lacking in any form for OTG Basketball.
100%. Like Jack mentioned, there's a lot of good stuff going on. We really have upped the video content that we're doing, and we're only going to keep on bringing in more video content for the site. And like Jack mentioned, even though the NBA season got 2 games at most left, there is the NBA draft only a couple of months or a month away, basically. And then we have free agency, and then we're going to be looking at the next season already. Like, it's going to be a fast-forward time frame, and the content's not going to stop. We have a lot of fun pieces. We're going to be doing, as Jack mentioned in the beginning of the episode, a free agent project where we're going to be going through, the top 25 unrestricted free agents, then even touch on the restricted free agents. So a lot of fun, interesting stuff going on at OTG Basketball. And like Jack also mentioned, Brooklyn Buzz, Full Access Hoops, JBT, we have Just Ball Things, by the way, and they have a brand new setup for their podcast with some really nice visuals where you can actually watch highlights while Jack and Nick Busing are talking about what they're talking about. So definitely check out them on YouTube as well. And until next time, peace out, knuckleheads. Oh, actually, wait. Jack, you put your Twitter, right?
At the J-Man JBT for those who playing along at home.
Right. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at KWAL Hoops, KWAL Hoops. And now, peace out, knuckleheads.